Hi everyone, I'm Ankush. I'll just do a correction. I'm the CTO for Mobiliya. I'm more on the tech side and one of the co-founders of Mobiliya, looking at all the technology stuff that we are doing at Mobiliya. So today, primarily, I'm going to talk about the domain at Internet of Things that we call. So is this a buzzword that we are going to see, going to have survive for next 4 years, and 5 years down the line, if we have Let's Ignite, the analysts would have come up with a new term, or is it something that is really going to survive? What are the kind of opportunities that are coming up in this space? And what's specific to India, if you're an investor or if you're an entrepreneur, what kind of things that you should think about and start focusing on if you're really trying to build a company or trying to invest in a company which is doing something using the Internet of Things. So I'll start with this. In reality, we always had connected devices, right? So if I take you back to the Mughal era, you had the Mughal hand fan, right? The connectivity was the rope, and the power was coming from the guy who was working for the Mughal emperor, right? We moved ahead, we moved to the ceiling fan, and we always had the regulator in front of me, right? So I was my dad's remote when I was young, and right now my kids are my remote when I have to change the fan. I still don't have a fan with the remote at my home, right? And then you have moved ahead, you have again a remote added to a phone, where I don't have to really disturb my son and get more respect from him by changing my speed of the fan myself, right? So we always had connected devices. What I want to say is, IoT is something that was always existing in the industry in some form or the other, but we are really hearing this as a buzzword or as a jargon. What is the reason? What has changed in the industry in the past few years that we are hearing about this a lot? So let's look at some of this, right? What has changed and what is favoring an IoT ecosystem today, and what is that is driving the solutions built using IoT? First one, all of us know we have improved bandwidth, and thanks to Reliance Jio and Mukesh Ambani, everybody enjoyed ton of data, 4G connectivity past few months, right? So that's something that's going to improve. Where we are, it's going to improve further. Next one, again, improve bandwidth, improve better connectivity, right? So today, if I go to a tier 2, tier 3 town as well in India, I could see a user having a Jio SIM at hand and he's watching a movie on the Reliance SIM, right? So better connectivity, the penetration is deeper. It's not limited only to the tier 1 cities in the country, but it's penetrating beyond that, and that's a global phenomenon. Third, again, very important one, increased compute power of devices, and we have got fantastic sensors today, right? Earlier, if we have to get an ECG done, you're entering a room in which the machines that were there will scare the hell out of you, right? Am I getting operated, or what are they going to do? Why are they applying all these gels on my body and all, right? But today we are seeing that pretty much a guy can come with a small machine and get your ECG done and tell you, how long you'll survive, or how long it's going to take before you get a stent onto your body, right? So again, these are the primary things that I'm seeing, which is actually driving the change in how users are using devices and how some of the solutions that are getting built using the small sensors and the devices and the mobility that is existing into the ecosystem today. So summary on this is hugely mobile, very powerful sensors, and again, better connectivity. That's what is driving the Internet of Things as we see today. Okay, so what exactly is happening with IoT, right? Again, a buzzword, but what actually it is giving me, if I go and talk to my dad, hey dad, I'm working on IoT. He said, I don't know what the hell you were doing. So in short, homes are becoming smarter. Again, what's driving that smart home is IoT behind it. Healthcare becoming more and more futuristic, more and more affordable. It's driven by IoT. Agriculture becoming more and more productive. Again, IoT is driving behind some of these. I'm not going to go in detail about how actually it is impacting each of these verticals, but you can pretty much think, what's happening behind a smartphone or a Nest kind of a device. Healthcare could be, any mobile device that's coming to you rather than you going to a clinical place. Agriculture is again, a lot of watering and soil testing and etc. Everything getting enabled using IoT. So in short, we are saying is driving digital transformation across various industry verticals. Now, this is very interesting, right? When we are looking at IoT, what we are saying is it's not limited to a one industry vertical. What you can think of is you can think of solutions across various industry verticals, right? Again, energy management, smart city, it's a big buzzword in our country. Globally, it's a happening phenomena. What's driving all this change is IoT. Now, looking at this, if you come to think of it, the opportunities are tremendous, right? But we need to think of, it sounds great that opportunity is tremendous, but how do you build a solution which actually is going to survive the test of time, the test of scale, and everything else around it? So I'll just quickly show you, this is not like a technical architecture slide, but I just wanted to have everybody a view of how do you break down an IoT ecosystem and what are different technologies that are coming into it, and they all have to work together in order to give you a simple IoT-enabled optimized solution. So the bottommost layer is things, which is actually the hardware, which could be the sensors and all what is going to be used in solution. Connectivity, again, very important layer. If you are doing an IoT solution for a hotel, which is in a tier 1 city, you can assume the connectivity is there, you can assume the bandwidths are there, but imagine you are doing a solar farm, which is in a remote area in Gujarat, going over 5-hectare land, and then you need to do an IoT solution there, right? Then there's connectivity solutions, problems, challenges, everything is different. Third is global infrastructure. Global infrastructure is, what kind of cloud you are using. It's Amazon, AWS. Next layer is data ingestion. How are you collecting the data from the sensors, from the devices? How are you storing that? Then top part is the real application, what an end user sees, right? So you do a data analysis on that, the data that you have collected, and then you build applications on top of it for different peoples and different processes that are going to be there, right? So this is how a typical IoT system has to be broken down and seen, and there are different players who are going to, offer solution in these layers, but finally to an end user, he needs a combined solution coming for his problem. And on the left-hand side, you see, we are highlighting one very, very important thing, which is security, right? As IoT systems are going to get more and more adoption in the industry, and we are going to see more and more hacks happening. And I think all of you would have heard, very recently there's a huge DDoS attack on a camera, which kind of bring down the internet in a country for a very long time, right? That was a very simple DDoS attack that happened on an IoT device, which was actually a camera, right? So this is what an IoT ecosystem would look like. Now, it sounds very complex. There are 7 layers and there's 8th, parallel that I'm showing of security. How the hell somebody builds a solution using this? And how do you think of that, there's a solution that you're building, it's going to be there 5 years down the line as well, right? So what I'm saying is there's a very important aspect that we need to think of in the industry is, am I creating a solution which is going to be interoperable and is going to live through the test of time, right? So we are talking 2G, 3G, 4G, I'm sure they're going to be there. We could have more Gs coming in, but that connectivity standard is sorted out, right? Now when there are devices, am I using a sensor which is not going to be existent 5 years down the line, right? So how do I make sure that these things that I'm using in my solution building across the 7 layers are going to interoperate with each other? That's an extremely, extremely important part that as an entrepreneur, you need to think while you're building a solution, how that's going to be used, and as an investor, of course, you should really have that vision of what is going to happen to this solution 3 years down the line. Is it really scalable? Is this something that is really going to stand the test of time, right? So what I'm saying is, from the industry perspective, this is a very, very important aspect, and what I'm saying is 7 layers are maturing. Please note the word maturing, right? They're still in the works, they're still not very mature standards that have come up, there are still some challenges about interoperability, but this is how today you will see that things, I'm saying they are device vendors, right? So when you're having, say, a temperature sensor used into your IoT solution, how replaceable is the temperature sensor? You should definitely think about it when you're creating a solution, right? Am I locked into a vendor? What if this vendor disappears 3 years down the line? How do I maintain my system? So these are some very, very important questions. That's exactly what I meant by in my previous slide, which was interoperability, right? Connectivity, there are various standards. We have the standards of 2G, 3G, 4G, LAN, etc. But in IoT ecosystem, we are seeing some new stuff coming in, standards like LoRa, standards like Sigfox, which are like alternate networks that are coming and becoming very, very powerful standards for connectivity. LoRa stands for low range, it uses low power, and it's becoming very popular. So again, there are certain standards coming, but does LoRa interoperate with a 4G connection is something that one needs to think of depending on the system that one is building. Global infra, we think there are good winners coming, and this is where there's very overused word in our industry which is called platform, right? And you will see a lot of IoT companies claiming themselves to be a platform company, right? And I think one of the days we used to love our platforms 5, 6 years back, but today somebody comes with a platform, the first reaction is, okay, I think it is It's a very heavy tech which probably doesn't have any end user view. Right, so we are seeing on the global infra side, there are very strong players, Azure, AWS coming up. There are other small players, but I think there's some leading ones that I have listed here. Data ingestion, again, there's some open standards that are coming up that I've listed. And data analysis, you have a lot of open source and proprietary stuff that is coming, which people are using into the system. So in short, across these 7 layers, when you're picking up components, one needs to think of how do I create an interoperable, long time solution that is going to work for next 5, 10 years and is very, very maintainable. Okay. Now, sounds very simple across those 7 layers, but in reality, we promise every year that this is going to be a year of IoT, right? But we are failing to achieve that. Is this going to be a year or it's going to be 2018? We still don't know, right? So if you really ask me, the IoT project that we have been working on, we do 1 year of pilots and then 6 months of negotiation for implementation, right? And then we don't know whether it really get implemented at full scale or no, but pilots, we do ton of pilots every year, right? So what are the challenges that are coming up, right? So one is ROI justification, right? So a very good example I would give is that, when you're building an IoT system, you really need to see what are you delivering as value. What is the return on investment of the solution to the provider that you're providing, right? An example is, if I go and offer my dad, why don't you buy a driverless car? He lives in Delhi. And I'll say, Dad, you need to shell out 50 lakhs more for this, I'm sure my dad will come back, I have a 15,000 per month SaaS model running with a driverless car, and he gets me vegetables also when I want, right? So that's where the ROI justification comes in, right? So when you're building a solution, you need to think, are you replacing a component? Are you improving the productivity? How do you justify investment into a new solution? As I highlighted, interoperability, you need to make sure that your solution that you're building is going to stand the test of time. And then the third one is manageability and maintenance. This is again extremely important part, right? I showed you 7 layers and there are different players involved, right? In a solution, you could have a device coming from an AVNet or a solution provider. You could have a cloud coming from a Microsoft or an AWS. So you are seeing there are multiple component providers into a system. Now, who is going to manage that? How do they maintain the system, right? Again, that's a cause of worry. So a lot of POCs, very exciting, very good. When they end up, people end up with these challenges, right? How do I do this? So when you're creating this, these are the important points that, as a solution creator, you need to think of. So where is IoT adoption is justified? What are the kind of low-hanging fruits that I should think of while I'm building an IoT solution? So one is solving problems that are not solved, right? We looked at examples of some of the healthcare solutions that could be there. We have rural India where there's hardly any reach. You can't take a big ECG machine. If you've got small machines with small sensors and all, you can pretty much take them to a rural area and get the job done. Optimizing resources, again, this is very important one. This is, we have seen some very important use cases of this, that like in this hall, right? Right now I can see pretty much we can switch off the lights at the back side of this hall because there's hardly any occupancy. What it takes, does the investment needed to do that justifies itself by saving on the cost of power that is going to be consumed there? It's a very simple maths, right? And India mein, whatever you say, the most important question is kitna deti hai, right? The moment I tell a businessman in India that by putting an investment of say 10 lakh, you can recover this in 6 months, it's a done deal, right? You don't have to do any more selling on that. Of course, you have to prove that it really does that. He'll have 50 questions on that. The third one is enabling automation, right? Now, enabling automation is also across all the verticals. It's happening in industry, it can happen in a school, it can happen in an environment like this. So typically, you have to pick your battles where you want to position your IoT solution, right? And these are the kind of places that you can think of and see what kind of solutions you can create. But always remember, while creating it, please ensure that the cost of deploying the solution is justifying the cost. Now, let's look at the opportunities here in India, what kind of opportunities we can think of. So we have heard Digital India, we have heard Smart City. These are 2 big programs, right? And for some of you who were there in the session yesterday, I think one of the great takeaway from me is the India stack, right? And what they showed was India 1, India 2, India 3. So for the benefit of those who were not there, so India 2 is the tier 1 middle class, upper middle class, which is like what you say, 20% of the country. India too is again significant size of the country, which was like 40% of our population, which is still, has the below middle class, but still has the potential to kind of, has a lot of aspirations, and with a little bit of effort, they can move to India 1. Then India 3 is the bottom rural India with less connectivity and really the bottom rung of people, right? Now, if you look at as a country, what is the biggest strength? Any entrepreneur thinking of creating a solution, if you just think of creating solving a problem for India, we are billion plus nation, and with your solution, if you're only targeting 10% of the market, I think you're pretty much covering few countries in Europe and most of the world, right? So that's the opportunity, right? We are sitting on gold mine of people, right? People are our gold mine. So we've got a huge TAM in our own market, but what's the unfortunate part? We are not thinking that this is our strength and we are not creating any solutions for this, right? Let me give you an example. Last session we were talking about fintech, right? All of us are targeting the top 10% of the market, right? In a billion, you have only top 10% of the market. And I have a very good example. If you look at Uber and Ola, we think that the bottom tier is tech unaware. They can't use tech. But let me put it this way. Let's, as an entrepreneur, take the blame on myself that we are not giving them quality tech which they can use. Now let me give you an example. How many of you use an Uber and Ola? Pretty much everybody. So do you think the driver who is sitting there is coming from an India 1 or India 2? I hope I made my India 1, India 2 definition clear. It's going to be India 2 or India 3? With very few India 1, I'm sure college-going kids who want some extra money, they're also doing that. But look at Uber and Ola as an example. Somebody gave them a tech. They're using tech for improving their lives, and a lot of Uber and Ola guys are actual entrepreneurs. And they're entrepreneurs converted, they are people converted as to entrepreneurs enabled by tech. Yeah, right? So if that's the case, then what it tells us, that we need to give them good solutions which they can use, right? And then we have the power of people, and then you can scale your solutions. But let's build solutions which they can use. So each one of us is actually kind of missing that piece in our whole India stack. So next thing that I say is ready-made solutions won't work because, typically we have the idea of something that works in some part of the world. Let's get it here and it's going to work exactly same in exactly part of the world. Trust me, we as Indians, if somebody in New York has 10 questions, we have 10 raised to power 10 questions on the same thing, right? So the thing is, we need to get some customized solution for our geography. And as I told you, right, the market size is huge. It's just that we as entrepreneurs need to look at that market. As I said, no two geos are the same, right? There's New York, there's Delhi, and in fact, I said even Delhi and Mumbai are not same. And different beasts need different solutions. Now let's think about smart city, right? Typically, a lot of people are saying, hey, I have done smart city in New York. That's fair, that's great. But have you seen Mumbai? Have you seen Delhi? Right? I mean, we use 3 lanes and we convert them into 8 lanes automatically. Right? So we have that skill with us. Now, a guy building solution in New York will never imagine this problem that we have on the road of Mumbai. So if somebody built in New York a license recognition solution for smart city, the moment it comes to New Delhi, it is under stress test and it fails miserably, right? So guys, this is the opportunity for us. So we as entrepreneurs, can we look at some of these opportunities and take them head on? And of course, enabling all this tech, there is some form of IoT that is going to happen. Again, we have all these challenges in our geos, can we think of some solutions? So, to summarize, local players are key for successful IoT implementations. And guys, this is a huge market. Let's not look westwards only, let's look inside. There are a ton of people, we are a nation of billion plus people we're looking at. So as investors, we need to believe in the local India story. We need to promote what local solutions are getting built. And we need to identify local problems and solve it with tech. I think Uber, Ola has shown the way. Entrepreneurs need to also think locally. I mean, everybody, typically what we do is all of us try to build a company and think investment models, right? And I differentiate between an investment model and a business model, right? I mean, we have seen ton of hockey stick curves happening, but a hockey stick curve, from there if you fall, it's a free fall only, right? And the moment you have a business which was rising gradually with on some solid business sense, you always can go up or go down the slope. And third, I would say government of India is doing some great initiatives, right? I mean, we heard a lot of people from government. It's a very different outlook that we are looking from the government, right, from past what we have seen. So can we as entrepreneurs and investors thrive on this ecosystem? Lastly, I would just like to highlight Aadhaar. I'm calling it's the most successful enterprise social network. There's no network that has grown to that size in a matter of 5 years what Aadhaar has done. And last FinTech session we talked about, right, what's the innovation? Let me tell you, India too, if Aadhaar is used well, can do digital payments without carrying a plastic card in their pockets. India 1 can carry plastic cards, but India 2 can do, if an Aadhaar biometric linked bank authentication is happening, you can pretty much give him credit or her credit and don't need the plastic card that we need to carry in our pockets, right? So it works, Aadhaar scales, gives access to 1 billion people, isn't it? That's what we were raising money for, right? I want 100,000 downloads, so I need to raise money. I want 500,000 downloads, so I need to raise money. So you have a platform which gives you authentication, one of the most secure authentication, and access to 1 billion users. Can we think of solutions for that? Right? Last but not the least, I think we all tend to miss this important aspect of security while building these solutions. I have just one slide on this. We need to make sure that we think of security in our IoT solutions from day one. Typically, I have seen this in the West, in our country as well, security is always an afterthought. पहले इसको चला देते हैं यार, उसके बाद देखेंगे कि इसको कहाँ पे बहादुर बैठाएंगे, right? Because our security guy is a typical Nepali bahadur that stands in front of the gate. But guys, we have to think it from day one, because a security hack on IoT solutions could be really, really catastrophic. It can actually bring down the business and lose the trust of the customer who has deployed it. So with this, I'll finish. That's what I had, and let's think local. Let's create some local systems.